All right, so welcome back to another episode of Just Winging It. I'm your host, Ryan Lee, and tonight we have three amazing teachers who are here that are ready to share with you guys. And also, they're going to be eating spicy wings, but also answering spicier questions. So before we start, thanks, guys. No, I said spicier. I said spicier. All right, just want to clarify. So before we start, could we just get a quick introduction about you guys? Who you are, what you do.
I'm Semie Shin, 22 years old, currently working at a museum called the Art and History Museums in Maitland as the collections registrar.
Hi, my name is Min. I'm 27 years old, and I just accepted a job offer at Valencia as a part-time faculty next week, so I'll be working in Valencia College. Yeah, I think that's it.
I'm Minsun. I am 10 years older than Semie, 5 years older than Min. I work at the Edith Wish Institute, and that's all.
All right, so before we start, I kind of wanted to give you guys a rundown of kind of the rules that we have in place for tonight. Something we learned from last time around, episode 1, don't eat into the mic. Our people don't like when you do that. Yeah, so we're just kind of pull away. 2, watch your eyes. We already had a brother tonight kind of burn his nose after rubbing his nose after trying one of the sauces. So watch your eyes. You'll most likely have tears, so when you wipe, try using sleeves, but away from eyes, okay? 3, you're not obligated to eat the wings. If it gets too hot, don't feel forced to eat it. You also don't have to eat the whole wing, just a bite. If you just want to get the sauce, you can lick it, I guess, but yeah, don't feel obligated to have to finish. It's not necessary. We do have some milk, lemonade, some green tea lemonade from Starbucks to kind of just assist wherever it's needed, and then we have cups available for you guys. And then rule 4, last wing, we add an extra dab of hot sauce. That's just kind of the way things go down here. Again, don't feel obligated to eat anything that makes you feel too uncomfortable, all right? And so the sheets in front of you, if you want to flip that over, that's kind of just the questions we have tonight. We'll go one by one. But before we jump into these questions, I want to just give a special shout out to Wings of Winter Garden. This Just Winging It is sponsored by Wings of Winter Garden, the greatest wings in all of Central Florida. All right, ready? You guys have any questions before we start? So first question, as you guys know, we're just going to take a wing, and we're going to take a bite.
You're eating it too?
I'm riding here right with you guys. We're going to eat a wing and then feel the burn, and we're going to ask these questions. First, level 1, Tabasco. Simple, easy. Shouldn't be a problem, right? All right, so first question. Being 3 teachers with different levels of experience, right? With Min, this being her first year, Semie going into her 3rd year, Minsun going into 8. We've lost count at this point. The question is, what brought you back to teaching each year, or what made you want to start teaching? Basically, question being, why do you teach?
So when I first started teaching, I told DL that I'm only going to teach 1 year, and then I'm going to leave Orlando. If it's truly 8 years, it's been 8 years since I said. Every year I tell him, DL, I'm only committing for a year because I'm going to leave Orlando. And I started teaching because it was my way of making sure I stay committed to a church or play a role in the church. And so that's kind of how I started. I've always had a heart for youth ministry and teaching, and so so that's kind of how it started. And then what brought me back to teaching, I think every year, for the past couple of years, I'm like, Ryan, are you going to do it? And he's like, yes or no, and then we'll just kind of spur each other on. But yeah, last year I was thinking about some words that I want to kind of be like my 3 words to guide the things that I do. Those 3 words, one of those words is the next generation. And so this is just my way of actively kind of playing that out. And I think the youth ministry that we have here is one that I wish I had growing up. And so kind of just thinking about my childhood and thinking about some of the people who have invested in my life. That is partly why I do it. And also because there are people like Ryan who makes it easy to run the race for Christ.
So the first 2 years were very strong. I wanted to teach, just to be more involved with the youth and be able to invest further into the students. So for most of the time, it's a 2-year commitment, and you start on an even grade, and so that you do like 6th and 7th, 8th and 9th, 10 and 11, or 12. So I started on 9th grade. So technically my 3rd year, I kind of got pushed into it because I had to finish off with that class. I mean, that's not the main reason, but that was a big reason as to why I continued, and that was supposed to be it. But the 4th year, this year, the reason why I went back to teaching was, I think, I just grew a connection with the students that I have currently, the 11th grade class. And that was my biggest condition, was I will teach again if I got that certain class, because I just felt called to really be able to teach them and be more in their lives than I already was. And that's kind of what pushes me to continue to teach, and it continues to inspire me to make an effort to reach out to them.
For me, I guess, to answer the question, like what made me start teaching, I think I went to church all my life, but I've never had the experience of serving the youth or being a Sunday school teacher or just serving the church in general. I never had a community like Harvest before. I think for me, I'm kind of different. I left the church and then I came back. I left again, and then I came back. And so for me, my faith path is pretty dynamic, but ever since I started coming out to Harvest, I was like, I think this is a time for me to change. And for me to actually, change is just serving. And so what really made me start wanting to teach and actually give advice or share my knowledge or serve the youth is, I think, from the Harvest Youth Winter Retreat last year. Some of you may remember that. I was there, and it really convicted my heart. Oh, like this is what I should do, and So I think that's why I wanted to start teaching. And as Semie said, I do have a couple of students that really pushed me in a way, and so I decided to invest in the youth and really be a mentor. Honestly, I don't have all the answers, but I wish I could just be present in my students' lives and just be a help for them, like an older sister, a teacher, and just because I don't want them to make the same mistakes that I did in the past, hopefully less, and just guide them in the right direction, because I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have a teacher back then when I was in my youth, so I wish I could be that figure for them.
Awesome. So I think a good point that was brought up was kind of just what Min just shared about how as teachers we're kind of just that presence provider. Because I can guarantee you none of you guys, I'll look up, I bet you none of you guys can remember or recite the lesson even from last week, right? I'm joking. Hopefully you guys do remember what we say, but just that presence, we're here for you guys. that's the main thing that we can share. But quickly for me, the reason why I teach, to give a quick answer, is because I'm extremely grateful for the time as a youth student, being, growing up in this church, the teachers that I had, Albert Kang being one of them, Miss Joyce, Miss Pomi, Mr. Ricky. And so there isn't much that I can do now to kind of give back to them or to show my gratitude other than helping provide the same place that they provided for me to their own children, right? For Mr. Ricky to create a good place, a learning space for Rayhan or Ella, for Miss Joyce, for Ewan, for Evelyn. And even though I might not be their physical teacher, I might be able to teach the ones that teach them. You know what I mean? So it's all about a generational thing of passing it down. The crazy thing is, Minyoung is already becoming a Sunday school teacher, and that was my first class, teaching Sunday school. So being able to, hopefully give back in that way to Albert's kids one day, right? Being able to, teach along that way is kind of like my way of showing gratitude to give back to those teachers. To give back to those teachers who provided for me, yeah. So, question 2, you guys ready? This one. Sriracha heat. Sriracha heat, a flavor that we're all pretty used to. All right. So, question 2. For some of the students, as they look to find side jobs or different avenues for side cash, can you share any lessons on how to save or spend well? Also, do you have any horror stories within the workplace?
Okay.
Let's start with a horror story, because I know working in the restaurant industries, many horror stories.
Yeah, I've been working at this same sushi restaurant for about 6 years now. So there's definitely a lot of horror stories. I can't think of much right now, but I know the biggest ones are like everyone they're the Karens, like the entitled moms, or like, can I speak to your manager haircut? Like people, we all know those people. Those customers, I feel like, are gonna be some of the worst, just because they have the confidence to like tear you down if they don't get what they want. I can't think of like a specific story, but yeah, just watch out for Karens. As to, if I think back in middle school, a way that I made money in middle school was a side hustle at school. I don't know if this is like allowed anymore, but like you make like little bracelets or like paper origami stars and sell those to your friends. Sometimes you can make pretty good money. To save or spend well, I think it's to be clear of what money is to you. I think knowing what you have is important, and not to spend it on just reckless things. It's nice to treat yourself, every once in a while, but sometimes it's just better to save. I think that's one thing I didn't do in high school, and now after college, you're like, man, if I had that money I saved in high school now, be so great. But it's always, you learn in hindsight. Another way that I save is I hide my money so that I find it later. And then I'm like, wow, I got I got $20 now, because it prevents me from spending it at that moment. So yeah.
So if you ever go to Semie's house, just look around. You might leave her house richer.
Okay, for me, I think my first job was in college, actually. I just worked in an office job in a university setting. So, yeah, I guess how to save. Make sure you open a saving account and save all your money in there. Horror stories. I had horrible supervisors. Like, there was one time, you know, like when you enter a workplace, you usually go through a certain training period and you get to know your coworkers, you get to know your team members and everything. I had none of that. And as soon as I entered, I was just like, okay, here, do the job. And so for me, that was kind of horrifying and traumatizing. And of course, like, I didn't do the job well in the beginning. So that was very, yeah, I still have that memory. So make sure when you do your interview, you need to get to know the people, and you definitely need to be more analytical when it comes to like choosing your workplace. I think that would be an advice that I can give you, but that would be a horrifying story for me. It's, yeah, good lesson. Spending well, I spend really well. I treat myself really well. But I think, yeah, as Semie said, I think I should save more for my future. But yeah, the tip would be opening a saving account. That would be great. It's just a certain, like, just have, when you have your income or salary, make sure you have a certain portion just go straight to your saving account so you don't spend all of it. That would be my advice.
Horror stories. The first thing that, so my work experience is in the nonprofit sector, and as great as the sector is, in that there's the opportunity to help really change a life or save a life in different ways. Yeah, it's definitely a broken sector. And so my first job, I had an incredible visionary leader, and she really pushed us to that vision. And I didn't know what I was doing with my life. I graduated with a math education degree, got into the sector by volunteering 40 hours a week because I was like, I'm getting a job in the midst of this recession. And so they finally gave me a job, and kind of worked my way up, and it got to the point where, yeah, I gave my life to this job because, one, I wanted to prove that I can make it. Two, because there was high expectation, and I wasn't making much at the time. I think it was like $12 an hour or something like that, and but I was putting in a lot of hours. And it got to the point towards the end where, yeah, I wasn't able to meet a lot of those expectations within the environment that they gave me, to the point where I was in a closet, and I had a panic attack. And I've never had a panic attack before. And it was because, yeah, it was just because I had made my work my everything. And so I think God used that time to teach me a few things, but one of the biggest things is that your work should not be your identity, and it should not be your everything. No matter what the mission is, or what the cause is, or what the reason is, yeah, work can't be your number one. And so that would be my horror story. As far as saving and spending well, yeah, I think the older you get, you slowly make more money, but how you spend it in your high school years and college years really does define how you'll use it in your adult years. And so the first thing is tithe, even your scholarship dollars. So that's one thing my mom had me do when I was in college, and that was hard. Because let's say that you're making, I don't know, you get $1,000 or whatever for that, whatever. So it's $100, right? But even that, it was hard. And then I think the other thing that she taught me was she had me give a certain amount to her. It might be a very Korean thing to do, but it was also to show respect to my parents. And so that was hard to do in college. But I think what I learned from that is to let go of my greed of money in a sense, and to know that, yeah, where I am is not because of my own doing, but it really is, it was a family kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think, so I'm getting ready to like hopefully purchase a home, but even this month, I'm like trying to save as much as I can to make sure that down payment goes through. And, you know, it's very tempting to not tithe because I'm concerned that I may not have enough in the bank account to make that down payment or whatever that case looks like. And that's just like my own personal thing of how I saved and things like that. Or because I'm thinking about buying a dining table in my new house if that happens. But I think the call was test me and know that, you know, I will provide for you. And there's a verse in the Bible that talks about that. And so, but I wouldn't be able to do that if I had not developed a habit of that. And so if your parents give you allowance, or when you go to college and get scholarship dollars or whatever that looks like, make sure you give your percentage, give some of that to God. And then the other thing is just making sure that you do spend less on yourself and more on others. So whatever that looks like. My brother says, you know, always asks me, why do you always buy from the sales section? There are times where I don't. There are times where I don't. But if I can save $20 when I'm buying a pair of jeans, and that $20 can go towards another meal or whatever that looks like, that's more meaningful use of those dollars. And so how to save and spend well? I don't know that I've done well on the saving side, but I think the spending side, knowing that it's not mine, it's definitely helpful. Nice.
So just quickly, just because we're kind of on a time crunch, but just quickly, horror stories in middle school. In my middle school, I used to sell energy drinks out of like a duffel bag. Like I had my backpack, my gym bag, and like a duffel bag just full of candy and energy drinks. But it got to the point where the school like banned energy drinks at our school because so many kids were selling energy drinks, and these kids were just bouncing off the walls in middle school that they would take away our energy drinks. So one time they tried to take mine away, but I was like, no, these are mine, I bought them. So instead of throwing it away, I drank all of them. And in third period, I couldn't see out of my left eye, so I had to go home. Horror story, workplace, side hustles, not worth it. I'm pretty sure I made like $5 in like the whole year. Okay, so question number 3. The classic hot sauce from First We Feast presents Hot Ones. So question number 3 is very straightforward. Is there anyone that you look up to as a role model, and why do they stand out to you?
Someone that I look up to as a role model is my brother. For those who don't know, he is 7 years older than me.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT, by the way. You don't know who Han is. He's the GOAT.
Growing up, we never fought. We never got in arguments. He yelled at me all the time, but it was for a good reason. He was kind of my parent because my parents weren't home a lot, just working. So he kind of took on that role growing up. The reason they stand out to me is he went through a lot, being an immigrant child that couldn't go to school because it was too expensive. He had to drop out of college, work like crazy to just help our family get by. And that just continues now, just the way he works and the way he serves our family still in so many ways, in that the way he will, as he expects his baby daughter soon. And also because he lives lavishly and that he has a great sneaker collection that a lot of people want.
Big facts.
And he still is humble and he spends wisely. He makes those purchases, but it doesn't hurt him because he's smart about what he's doing. He's not just buying and swiping credit cards. So, yeah, he stands out because he's just very wise, hardworking, and a good older brother.
For me, I would say my role model is my mother. I'm like not like her. She is like a person from a different world, I feel like. She loves God, she loves the word. She's the one that always sends me Bible verses, and that is the and that is the time when I actually read the word. And she's the one that always encourages me to read the word and pray, and and we did Bible studying for a certain period of time when I was struggling a lot at one point here in Orlando. So yeah, I would definitely say when it comes to a woman in Christ, she is definitely my role model, and I definitely want to be like her because I feel like when it comes to hardships, she's the one that always tells me don't rely on people, just run to God and surrender to him. And so I feel like I definitely learned that from her. And so that is why she stands out to me. Like, she's someone that I can really, look upon when it comes to like what it means to be a follower of Christ. And so yeah, my mom, my mother.
This one's tough for me. I'm thinking about role models, and I think about like each season. I feel like there's a different person, and it really depends on who I'm living life with at the time. And it's not necessarily one person all throughout. I would say my parents definitely when I was younger. In high school, some of our youth leaders in college, some of my friends who sought Christ when I didn't. Now, I think same people within the church that I get to share life with and who are running the race, whether it's youth students, like y'all are constantly encouraging me and challenging me to live well for Jesus, or former youth students, or some of my friends and ministry partners in that way. So I can't say that I have a specific one, but God kind of provides that person for me, and so I can't really answer a specific person.
I was expecting like celebrities or something. No? Those are options. Okay. So question 4. We'll jump right into it, but we have to eat a wing first. I almost forgot. This one, Los Calientes, again from Hot Ones. I think this is like a good midpoint wing. So question 4. What does reconciliation or forgiveness look like to you? How do you rationally break down or deal with conflict or problems that arise in all facets of your life?
For me, I think this is really hard. Forgiveness and showing grace. I'm still struggling with that, everyone. But recently I learned from a retreat that I have no right to judge other people. I have no right to think negatively towards people, because the truth is we're all broken. We're all sinners. We all have issues. And the reason why church exists is to help each other lead towards the right direction to God, to Jesus. And so for me, that was a huge realization for me that I have no right to look down on other people or, just be bitter towards people. And so, for me, that really helped me to shift my mindset of what it means to show grace to other people, or it made me, it was easier for me to have that mindset of forgiving, but actually forgiving and actually showing grace, taking action. Yes, that's definitely a hard part for me. I'm going to be totally honest. But I think that's how I rationally broke it down. Like, we're all broken, so this is why I should, this is how I should deal conflict or problems when it comes to people, relationships, or external circumstances in my life.
I think forgiveness for me was to be the bigger person. I think in the conflicts that I've had in my life, it was they did something to me, but the truth was they didn't even realize they had hurt me. So it was being the bigger person and confronting them and sharing in what I was feeling. And allowing them to realize that had happened. I think a lot of them were very surprised or just didn't even realize that they had done something that would hurt me so much. So it was just a lot of talking and explaining and just sharing because everyone is so different. So sometimes just things some things is literally nothing to some people, but it's everything to everyone else or yourself. I don't know how to answer the second question because I think most of the time I just avoid conflict. So I'll just pass that on.
So my brother was dating a girl for a long time. And and so I didn't necessarily not like her. I didn't like that my brother was not ready to be in a relationship. And so, so I guess the way that I exhibited that was in a very judgy and not kind way. The way that I treat you all or the way I treat my friends, as much as I wanted to be like that for her, it was really hard. And so eventually they broke up and things like that, and it was really hard for my brother. And I just realized that, that was not a loving way to act towards him in that sense. And so I think it was one Sunday we were, I was trying to find it, but DL was talking about judging others and things like that. And it just felt like, man, I really screwed that up with my brother. And that, it's definitely not like a testimony, a way to like live out Christ in that relationship. And so, I think about Pastor Sam, who just came to speak at our R&R, and he was teaching somebody at the last R&R how to ask for forgiveness or give forgiveness or whatever. It's first to tell them that you were hurt. Second, to tell them, but I forgive you. And third is don't do that again. And so I had to go to my brother. I don't think I've ever asked for forgiveness on such a sensitive topic before. And so we had dinner at Bakery, and I'll never forget it. And I was like, Stephen, I just want to apologize for the way that I treated your girlfriend. And it wasn't an easy thing to ask for forgiveness in that. And I think when he said, I'm glad that you see it. I'm glad that, thank you for apologizing in that sense. and just the relief that came from that. And I think it allowed our relationship to get a little bit deeper because of it as well. And yeah, that's what forgiveness looks like, I think. Just one, being able to receive forgiveness, in that you're able to give forgiveness to others. And so if you guys have messed up with your sibling or whatever that looks like, go ask for forgiveness. And so I think that's how I'll answer that question.
Yeah, for me, I just yell at people, like for like Chanu's praise team or Daniel Chang's wedding, his wedding party, they did like an Avengers theme, and they always give me Hulk for some reason, and it's not because I'm big and strong. It's just I'm always angry and always young. So if anything, that was more of a personal question. If that didn't resonate with any of you guys, that was just for me. So 5. This is where it gets hot. So if you want to prep some some milk, you guys can start doing that. But this one is Carolina Reaper. All right, so I feel like, Minsun, you can still answer this. This is was framed for junior teachers. So for the first semester as juniors, the curriculum drives into the book Case for Christ by Lee Strobel, right? So in 1 minute or less, can you build or share your version for your case for Christ?
I think for me,
1 minute. You only
I
have
know.
1 minute. You're already at like 45 seconds.
God is there. I think he's always listening to what you pray about. He sees what you are going through, and he will provide answers that will surprise you. There might be, in the moment, you might not even realize, but looking back, you will see that God was really there. I think he will also be there in those moments, as we learned, like he is there in the fire. But it's just, he is a very good listener and will be there for you.
My version of my case for Christ, I would say start like really counting your thanks. I think that really helps me to realize what God has done for me in my life, whether it is having a roof over my head, not being sick, struggling with illness, having a beautiful younger sister. Just being thankful for all of those little things, and then like letting me serve for Harvest, and just letting me be in a really good community. Just counting your thanks first really helps me find the evidence of what God has done in my life. So definitely that's how Jesus can be revealed in my life, just by realizing what he has done for me and how he thinks of me. So yeah, that would be my version.
God is good. He loves me so much that he's died on the cross for my sins. And in my weakest state, in my neediest state, in my fallen state, he has shown me his mercy and has allowed me to experience grace in that way. And Jesus has been victorious over the grave and over hell. And it is only because of the blood of Jesus that one day I will see my Father in heaven and be able to live, in the goodness of God.
Amen. We're getting a little shiny over here. You guys can see. Getting a little sweaty. What flavor is that? The 7.
It's the Torchbearer sauces, all natural zombie apocalypse sauce.
This is the one that doesn't taste good.
Oh.
It's just hot. Just hurts.
Oh, it's gluten-free.
Jenny Moon would approve of this.
Chili pepper.
Ghost chili pepper.
Habanero peppers. Carrots. There's some carrots in here. Mandarin oranges, tomatoes, garlic, vinegar. It's the Bucholokia pepper.
It starts to burn after you swallow.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Okay, so for the second semester as juniors, right? Oh, there it is. The curriculum moves over to Experiencing God by Henry T. Blackaby. Can you share about the first time you experienced God, or how you continually experience Him daily? Oh.
I experienced God at a retreat for the first time when I was in 6th grade, and it was awesome. Yeah, I think just being told that I was loved, that Jesus considers me to be beautiful, and that He loves me just as I am. Growing up, I was told I was fat and ugly, and it's a very true thing. So when I was 5 years old, my mom would make me go wake up in the morning and go run around the block. And we would do jumping jacks and jump roping, and it's like a real thing, guys. And so I've kind of struggled with that all my life. And in 6th grade, I was told something very different from the God of the universe and through Jesus. And so that was my first experiencing God. Yeah, it is pretty spicy. How do I experience God on the daily? It really is just being in His Word. And my work right now is really hard, and God constantly provides for me in a lot of ways. And through that, the phone is ringing somewhere. Through that, I'm able to see God's goodness.
No. For me, I think I experienced God in college. Ooh, I'm getting delirious here. Okay. Yes, I experienced God. Yeah, it is spicy. Yeah, I experienced God during junior year in college. And I realized that I'm loved by someone who is perfect. I think there was a lot of failures in my life, like pleasing my parents with good grades didn't happen, or like pleasing other people, or expecting other people's to do good for me. Like, I think there was just a lot of failures and disappointments in my life, but then I realized that someone who is perfect, someone who never sinned in his life, loves me so much, and that gave me hope that there is someone perfect that I can really depend on and rely on. I think I mentioned this in my testimony, where my car, like, I drive a lot, or even when I went to UCF, I drove, like, there was a lot of driving, and so while I'm in my car, that is like my worship room, I guess. Like, inside my car, I like sing worship songs, I pray to God out loud because it's just me. So whenever I go to church or come back from church, like, I always, that's the time where I just experience Him on a daily basis, and which is a very intimate setting as well. So yeah, I mean, definitely you guys should try it too. Like, if you're in the car, just talk to Him. But yeah, that's how I do it.
The first time I really experienced God was freshman year. It was May 2011. I was going through a long period of depression, just from different stressors in my life. The biggest being feeling like my parents didn't understand me, that they weren't listening to what I had to say, and that they didn't love me. So a big prayer request during that time was for my parents to understand what I was going through. I think it's very easy for them to not notice my emotions just because I don't show it very often. And so that was my prayer request. And then May of that year, I was called into the guidance counselor office, had this whole thing happen because the school kind of had some red flags. So then pretty much it forced me to have conversations with my parents that I was praying about. It happened in an unexpected way because obviously I didn't think it would happen like that, but he brought a lot of healing and met with me and my family during that time by answering those prayers and allowing for me to learn that I am loved and that my parents do care a lot for me. So, yeah.
Last one, Minsun, if you can hand me the bottle. This one is Hellfire hot sauce featuring the Carolina Reaper. Oh, I can't even talk. Yeah, my tongue is numb.
Carolina Reaper.
Featuring the Carolina Reaper, the world's hottest pepper. And so, as you guys know, last wing, you gotta hit just another dab of hot sauce. And so, what I'll do is I'll put it on the side, and then you can smudge it, all right? Oh. Oh! Hey. You can wipe some off of that one if you want, but I'm gonna take this one. All right, I'll help this person out just a little bit. Yeah, this one. Bye-bye, guys.
12 seconds later.
I'm gonna start asking this question. Ooh, it hurts when you breathe. When considering a career path or major to study, what signs or decisions Ow. What signs or decisions did you feel oh God, I'm crying, yo. Ow. Yo, apparently like lemons help, which is why we brought lemonade instead of water. What signs or decisions did you feel or have to make to understand God's will for your life? Basically, what are your passions and how did you line that up with what you want to do in your life?
I didn't hear a word you said.
I don't want to finish this. It's still in my mouth.
It's like on my gums. Oh, it hurts. Oh my gosh.
Yo, I'm legit crying.
20 minutes later.
Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts.
Where does it hurt?
Just breathing.
Semie, your nose is sparkling. Yeah, I'm okay. My gums hurt.
Eventually.
All
Okay.
right, the question, I'll read again. When considering a career path or major to study, what signs or decisions did you feel or have to make to understand God's will for your life? Basically, what are your passions and how did you line that up with what you want to do in life? You think it goes away, but it doesn't,
No.
and it comes back stronger.
Okay, I'm gonna try to talk fast and get through this. So, I started college off as a computer science major because I thought I liked computers and solving problems and math. Okay, and very quickly I changed my mind because ultimately my biggest passion is art and still is.
It hurts as you talk, right?
Yeah.
The more you breathe.
And so I was a graphic design major for the first 2 years, and for UCF, it is required to do a portfolio, and I did not make it, so I was not chosen to get into the program. And that was a very hard day. I remember crying on the way home because I hadn't, when I got that email, it was really tough. But I think that was God's will, because as I went to my advisor, he showed me a different major that I could do since the portfolio process was only a year. So then once every year, I'm not even making sense anymore. And so then he showed me the major that I graduated which is visual arts and emerging media management. And that ended up being the choice for me, because I was able to really learn what I was able to do well, which is managing. And although I originally thought I would do marketing, I am now working in museums, and it brings a lot of joy because I get to share artwork to people, which is ultimately my vision, which is to bring art to anyone, because I feel like art brings healing and it brings inspiration to people, even if they don't think they are an art person. So yeah, God just led me through a lot in college to where I ended up, and it ended up being the best decision that I could make.
So I thought I was going to be a math teacher because I tutored math in high school. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be a math teacher, and then I'm going to open up a tutoring school, make a lot of money, and that will be what I do with my life. And then I graduated and realized I didn't want to do it. And my mentor at the time introduced me to the nonprofit sector. Did I have any signs or decisions? Oh, there was, as I was making a decision about whether I wanted to try out the sector, I remember reading something about, so I read about that God, something nonprofit sector, I don't remember. And so, and then I still don't know if I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, but I feel like God has opened up every door to where I am today. And so I think part of it is just applying and asking mentors and people in your life, and then kind of taking it from there. I guess,
I'm in the education field, and so specifically online education, because nowadays technology is growing, and I was like, what can I do to combine technology and education? And then online education brought up. So right now my passion is building online courses for different types of populations out there in the world. And so I'm more I have a passion for adults and adult learning and college students, and so that is my career path. When it comes to making decisions, I feel like praying is definitely helpful, and also asking, as Minsun said, asking mentors, professors, teachers, people who are more wiser than me. More wise than me. I ask them, and that's how I make my decisions. I don't make my decisions alone, honestly. So definitely asking for older sisters and brothers, and asking. And keep on asking to make sure you figure out the answers for yourself. That would be my passion, my field, and how I make decisions, understanding God's will.
Awesome. I didn't realize that this could be a thing, but my teeth hurt so bad. They're sore. I don't even know how. I think they're melting, seriously. But all three teachers, they made it through the ringer. They got through all the wings, through all the hot sauces, while still being able to answer all the questions. Thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with episode 3, hopefully very soon. And with that being said, we're done. We're out. No, trust. Like you think it's hot. Like you think it's hot and you're like, oh, haha, not too bad. And then you start like breathing and you start like, oh, see my nose is, your nose starts drooling and yeah.